Okay, so welcome back to the Impala project at Rubber City Motoring here. Moving on with step 2 of the details.com doubled in install. And last time my last update was basically lower dash removal, which is a bear. It's a big piece of plastic that you have to be careful with. And we're going to move on to radio and HVAC removal. Radio removal, they don't really detail in the instructions, but it's pretty simple. Once again, I am using I believe it's 7mm little driver here. You could use a wrench set, socket set, whatever you have, but two 7mm bolts hold on the radio, and I'm going to get that out of there now. And it is the one factory radio unit, which is basically just a stocker in there. So this is basically how you remove a stock radio. And right there you can see the big open cavity where the original radio was, and that is where the HVAC controls are going to move to, down there with the new bracket setup. So lots of space in there overall though, and you can see how the details kit makes it work. I mean, it's definitely a big space there. So factory trip odometer buttons, English metric, and then over there's the power outlet. So nothing really getting changed there. Next up is HVAC. There are 3 7mm bolts, 2 on the bottom, 1 up top, and then we basically loosen up some wires on the back, all the connectors, and I believe there's a bolt on the back too, which I'll show you here. Now, if you notice as I'm doing this, it seems to be like stuck. Really, the wire connectors are hitting on all the trim in here, the box, if you want to call it that. So it's not really like there's enough slack to pull it out and mess with it, but it was definitely sort of getting caught on its own connectors right there up top. So a lot of random clips and plugs. I think I've removed 4 different connecting points thus far. After you get all the wires off, they say take loose the vacuum connector, which is this big colored mess coming off on the passenger side, and you're actually supposed to take the bolts loose on the back instead of yanking them off. I assume to keep the integrity of the connections, because these are old vacuum lines. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. 1/4-inch driver there. Very small little screws holding that on. There's 2 of them. It doesn't look like it could go on backwards, but basically I'm going to tell myself the red goes up on top, and then that's the whole vacuum connector there. So there it is, removed for the first time since 1996. Still working, so I'm not going to change any of this. One thing that was not in the details instructions was the hot-cold blend control. This is actually, I mean, vintage-wise it makes sense, but it's a manual control where you're actually turning a flapper in there. And some of the different cars, like when you hear those people that switch to the climate control, Fleetwoods, the whole deal, like, you guys are nuts, by the way. I can't even imagine getting into that. But at the same time, this just comes off. There's 3 little like clamps that hold it on, and if you just pry up all 3 at the same time, this just slides off, and it's a one-way connection on there that it pretty much only goes one way. So next thing we got to do is take all of this and basically just tuck it down below, down to where it's going to end up. So I'm going to get that going, and then we'll move on. I wanted to show this while I have the before I start cutting or doing any of that stuff, these are just the radio plugs. I'm holding them out of the way, but everything you see there, from the blend control to all the plugs to the vacuum, more than enough slack, we'll say, to move it down below. So, you know, when you do this, it's crazy. It's like, yeah, they definitely didn't cut you short. Like my Camaro, certain things, I can't move them in the dash. Like, that's it. But, you know, credit to where credit's due to whoever originally figured this out. If it was Sean at the details, awesome. I'm not really sure, though. But right there is all my heater, air conditioning controls. There's the blender right there. Radio stuff's over here, but definitely enough room. There's a number of ways you can go about cutting out this center section. It is all plastic, even though, I don't know, I kind of initially thought it was metal. Just, you'd think it would be supporting all this, but it's actually plastic. You basically use the details bracketry as your guide. So if I hold it up there, I'll kind of give you the layout here. You can see that bar is in the way right there. However you want to cut it, it's up to you. You can use power tools, you can use you know, a hand tool, whatever you need to do. But basically, I'm gonna cut it right here on that side of the screw there, and right there on that side of the screw. And then back in here, you can see like this. There's like a shelf in there almost. I don't know if you want to call it. Like, you can get on either side of it, but it's in there. You have to cut this piece back here too, and that one's so thin. I might actually be able to do that with just some cutters, you know, instead of making a huge mess. But it's up to you how you want to cut it. I'm gonna try by hand first, just because I don't feel like throwing you know, plastic shavings all over the car and stuff. But I'm gonna lay a towel across my console here just to you know, keep the mess at bay here. But yeah, gonna give this a go here and see if I can get it all cut out and ready to mock up. Okay, so seriously, don't make fun of me, but I couldn't find my saw, and really, this little space, you don't have much room to work. I used without a handle or anything, a reciprocating saw blade with its metal. Now you're probably thinking, well, your hand's got to be shredded from holding. No, it honestly, this plastic, it was like a hot knife through butter. I mean, it, like, you know, I literally just set the camera down, I feel like, what felt like 2 minutes ago, and my piece is already out. My back cut isn't the prettiest, but it is cut. The side ones are gone, and I have a clear and open cavity there. A little bit of a mess. You can see all the debris down here, but it was originally like this, and voila. Definitely not going back to stock anymore, that's for sure. So the bracket is, we'll say, just kind of set in place. You're going to utilize 3 screws to hold it in here, and if I just sort of pull it out of here, it just kind of was mocking it up there. You're basically going to reuse the 3 that are left, the 2 on the outside that actually held the original radio down there, and then the 1 up on top that held the HVAC. And that pretty much handles it. Now, the last thing, which I haven't done yet, I got to devise a way to do that, which isn't too hard. If you look at the new bracket here, it's got these, we'll say, 3 screws on it, and then on the back there's also nuts. That is what's going to hold your HVAC unit to the bracket. So you're really, you know, physically bolting that into there pretty firmly. Those things sticking out, though, those bolts are hitting right down here. So you basically have to notch these out. I think I might use my saw again and just cut a little notch in them. I'm going to mess with it here, and I'll show you. But honestly, I mean, you could even take like a small drill bit and drill a couple little pilot holes in there and that should clear it. Basically, it's just, if you don't drill those out, this doesn't sit flush all the way in. So, yeah, once I get those done, it's pretty much reassembly time and radio install time. So, I mean, that shows you this is only the step 2 video, and we're ready to reassemble already the new stuff. Okay, so thanks for sticking with me on this. I know it's it's kind of unique. I feel like it's a lot of people have done this. I'm not the first, or definitely not going to be the last, but as far as getting that full-on turnkey, easy to install kit, I feel like this is it. Like that cutting, which I was actually worried about, that was so easy. I was blown away how quick that piece just comes out of there. This bracket is crazy heavy duty, nice black powder coated unit. It's solid. When you order from Sean at the Details, you're getting a product that is, we'll say, tried and true. A lot of people have used his stuff. He's been doing it for a while now, and it just works. It does. His instructions are pretty darn thorough, and if you follow this guide, it'll be real easy. So next move is fabbing this fully to get it in there, and I still got to order a radio. I think I'm going with a Pioneer unit, and yeah, so that's pretty much it for step 2. So thanks for watching. Every click, every like, every watch, supports the channel. I apologize for the ads before videos, but those do help me, keep the shop tools and things like that in order out here. So rubbercitymotoring.com, check it out. Subscribe on YouTube. Give it a like if you like this. If you're going to do this, tell Sean at thedetails.com that you saw this from here. And Sean's pretty cool, so check it out. Thedetails.com. Thanks again. We'll see ya.